He's the tallest man on the radio, so sit right back and enjoy the show. Flying through the air like a ballistic missile. Here's your host, Ben Kissel.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Ben Kissel channel. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for the great response to episode 1. All of your words of encouragement went straight to our hearts and clogged our arteries. All right, let's get to this next show with Sheikh Narlatang. Sheikh, thanks for being with me once again. Everyone loves you, by the way.
I'm happy to be here, and I'm glad I'm getting positive responses.
Yep, a lot of ladies. Is he single? Well, you know what I did just learn? He has a book that he writes his passwords in. So he's meticulous. He's clean. You're very clean. You like to read. And yes, he's single, ladies. So please, have fun there.
Was there really in the comments?
Oh, yeah, there was well, I made it up. I did make it up entirely, but I would imagine if I was a lady, is she single?
I'll take it.
Indeed. A little bit later on in this episode, we ain't going to go too long today, but I'm going to do a creepypasta because the audience has been craving creepypastas, and I've been yearning and burning to read some. So I got one story for you that I'm going to read to you, and it's going to be a little scary. It's not, because I'm going to be reading it, but it's supposed to be a little bit scary. Anyway.
I'm sleeping with the lights on tonight.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, I'll be right there looking at you through the window. Let's talk about New York City. What's going on in New York City? There's a new sexually transmitted fungal infection. Isn't that fun? So now this is happening. This is the first time it's appeared in the United States. Health experts are warning that there is a highly contagious fungal strain. So look at that. It's sort of like ringworm. Did you ever play grab ass in high school?
No.
I wrestled in high school. And when you're rubbing skin with a lot of sweaty, beefy boys, especially in the heavyweight division, which is what I was, you occasionally get a thing called a ringworm. I never got it because I was constantly bathing, but it's basically just a little circle, and it itches, and it's a fungal infection, and it's disgusting. According to Dr. Avram S. Kaplan, you can trust him, healthcare providers should be aware that trichophyton mentagrophytes, that's what type it is, that's the latest group of severe skin infections to have now reached the United States. Who brought it here? Again, I'm not going to go in and say it was a Canadian, but it's possible. So evidently, these rashes have been appearing on people's buttocks, their limbs, and worst of all, their penises.
Oh.
Yep. So watch out if you're in New York City. I don't know why it always starts in New York. There's always, whenever there's a future pandemic that's about to devastate the penises of Idaho,
it hits the biggest city.
It hits the biggest city first. New York gets to experience what it's like, and then slowly it makes its way to your hometown, much like crystal meth.
We still have post-traumatic stress from COVID.
I don't need this. This is the thing. I hate this story. I don't even know why we're talking about it, because already I'm sick. I'm sick and tired of thinking about fungi, of diseases. But now we got this to worry about. What's the worst sexually transmitted disease you've ever had, Sheikh?
I haven't had one yet.
See? There's an opportunity for you out there in New York City. It's apparently they call it it's TMVII. So you want to watch out for that. Apparently, this new case study came when this person, he visited England, Greece, and then California. And then he reported having sex with men during his travels, none of whom disclosed similar skin issues. So he was boning folks in England, in Greece, and in California. That is the trifecta of pure fuckery. Wow. That's a good looking group of dudes this guy was having sex with.
Jeez, that's a big trip.
It's a hell of a time. So there was this dude. His name is Dr. John G. Zampella. He says, since patients are often reluctant to discuss genital problems, when I go to the doctor's office, they don't even got to tell me to take my pants down. As soon as the doctor walks in, I'm Winnie Poohing it. I'm Winnie the Pooh in it. My balls and my dick is out there. I'm like, this is your job. Look at it. What do you think? Finagle with it? Touch it? That's what you get paid to do.
A service job.
So he says patients are reluctant to discuss genital problems. Do not. That's what these doctors, they love it. Doctors are fucking weird. Have you ever been to the Muir Museum in Philadelphia?
I have not. What's going on there?
It's a bunch of bones, and it smells like formaldehyde. I went in all hungover many years ago, and I damn near threw up in the bathroom. But instead, I went to the merch and bought a T-shirt. It is just all these just bizarre-looking skeletons. Every kind of disease under the sun, they got like a skeleton for it, and they got a little description. What I'm saying is doctors like weird shit. If everyone was healthy, what's the fun in the profession?
Yeah.
No, you want to be a doctor. You want to say drop trow, and then you want to be like, look at that weird thing on your penis.
Yeah.
That's the fun of it. And then as the doctor, you're like, thank God I don't have that weird thing on my penis. And then you have to try to keep a straight face when the guy is like, oh, what does this mean? Does this mean I can't go have sex with a bunch of men in Greece anymore? I mean, hell.
They're explorers.
Physicians need to directly ask about rashes around the groin and buttocks. They say, especially for those who are sexually active or who have been traveling abroad recently. And of course, if you do go to the doctor, report any itchy areas elsewhere on your body. Yesterday, I thought there was a spider on me all day.
What was it?
Nothing. So anyway, be very careful. That's what it looks like.
All right, that's not so bad.
It's horrible. What are you talking about?
Looking wise, that's not too bad.
It looks like he had... Oh, my God. I don't...
What part of the body is this?
Well, that seems to be an armpit. So he was apparently having sex.
Oh.
Apparently he was... Got the dicks here. You did multiple... You got double dicks. You can put them here. You got one in the mouth. And next thing you know, you're full of ringworm. So be careful out there if you're traveling, having sex with a bunch of men. I would assume also women. I don't know. This just happens to be... This guy was just on a fuck trip around the world. And then he came back with a bunch of different things. They analyzed data from 11 men and women who were treated for this infection. 7 patients have been completely cleared up. However, others did not clear up at all. And there's actually been genetic mutations in the fungus.
It's going to turn into something else.
Oh, God. With any luck, it'll give you a superpower.
It's got to be careful these days.
It's just bizarre stuff out there. But again, according to Kaplan, they say these initial findings offer new insight into how some of the fungal skin infections spreading from South Asia can evade our go-to therapies. Very interesting. Like the Viet Cong, this is hiding in plain sight, but we don't know where it is. Beyond learning to recognize their misleading signs, physicians will need to ensure their treatment addresses each patient needs a different set of standards in order for quality care. So anyway, that's just a little PSA. Be careful if you're having sex there. If you see a bunch of what appears to be cigar burns, well, then you know that person, they've got a fungal infection.
Take care of yourselves, people. Take care of yourselves.
And what you got to do then is you got to get the cellophane out. You got to wrap it like a tattoo. Just wrap it. Or like a Naked Gun when they did the full body condom. Do something like that. Because, of course, you have to have sex.
Celibacy's looking so good to me right now. There's too much to worry about, man.
Yeah.
Too much to worry about.
Well, that's, celibacy. All right. Let's move on. Edmund,
I guess that's a no for Ben.
I don't know. No, celibacy is fine with me. Trust me. I'm good. I don't even, I mean, I don't want to get blue here, but I masturbate for medical reasons now. I am like, I don't want to, anyway, let's talk about porn. The Edmonton Oilers. Now, they're a hockey team,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So there's this chick. By the way, thank you so much for everyone who listened to my Patreon episode. I talked about a Trump supporter, actually a transgender woman.
Yeah.
Big old titties.
Yeah.
She got real mad at this anti-Trump supporter, and she took her titties out and like smacked her in the face with them and stuff. She was almost charged with assault with a deadly titty. Now, these boobs in this story, they're not so malicious. There's an Edmonton Oilers fan, and she was on camera, right? You know, there is no bigger pervert in a stadium than the dude who's on camera trying to scout
Yep.
for like the games that they play on the Jumbotron. Like this person most looks like Shrek, and then they go to some poor fat schmuck, and he's like, I guess I do look like Shrek. So this chick, she saw the camera was on her, and she said, I'm not wasting this opportunity to show my tits. And that's exactly what she did. So as soon as she did, evidently she got offers of $100,000 from a thing called porndude.com, which is kind of confusing because porndude.com sounds like you're going to see a lot of ding-dong. But apparently it's for men to look at women. I'll never understand how things work. And they said, as soon as they saw her titties, that is our gal. And I'm proud of her. Now, there's no word on if she's going to take this money or not, but a rep for Porn Dude says the adult website gets 61 million views a month.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That is, oh, wow.
I'm happy, and I think we got like 5,000, and I'm like, ooh, now we're doing good. Imagine if we showed our tits. So, after seeing the woman display her boobs at the Oilers and Stars game, this was for the Western Conference Finals, by the way, if anybody really cares, they said, holy hell, these boobs are, quote, they were made for porn.
I'm curious about those boobs, man.
I know, they're all pixelated, and I'm like, I don't know if they were made for porn. It looks more like a burn victim here, but it's the pixels.
Yeah.
So they're offering her a place in their famous Porn Dude casting set. And what a fun set that must be. We know some people that work in the adult industry. All I know is get used to the smell of bleach. I don't want to sit on that couch. This is why I never go on Craigslist to get anything. If I see any couch for sale on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, on the side of the damn highway, or on the side of on the sidewalk outside of a home, just no.
Yeah.
It's been wiped clean of a lot of semen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing. Well, hotels also.
Now, I have nothing to do with that. I did not do that to that Holiday Inn. So, apparently, there's also a group that has, it's called Cam Soda. They tell us that they are offering $100,000 for her to, quote, show off her chest just as she did the other night. I also wonder if there's something to do with the fact this is like a dude's dream. She likes hockey. She's got her jersey on.
Yeah.
Something very sexy about that. So does she wear the jersey, flash the titties, get $100K and go home? There's no shame in that.
None whatsoever.
If I'm this gal, do it.
Get on it.
$100K to show
You did it for free.
Absolutely. I mean, not to mention, I get $100K to not.
Yeah.
They say, cover up, we'll give you cash. So even OnlyFans, they seem to encourage her to create an account on her platform. You know what? People are struggling out there.
They're circling.
Late stage corporate corrupt capitalism. It's a consumer-based society. Jobs are gone. Everyone's like, AI ain't gonna take my job. AI took it. You can't even draw or write, paint, doesn't matter, you're done. AI can't take a beautiful set of tits.
No.
Not yet. There's just one problem. No one knows who she is. And the internet has been looking, they're scouring the internet. And you know these internet detectives, they never get it wrong.
Yeah.
And they're trying to find her, but so far she's laying low. So if you are the Edmonton Oilers fan who flashed apparently perfect breasts, get that money. And anyone that takes any retaliation against her, you need to shut up. I don't care if she's a teacher.
Yeah.
You should be allowed to do this and teach. Just don't do it in the classroom. You know?
Unless it's health class. Which, do they still have those?
Oh my God.
Health class, I mean, that's something completely different.
Yeah. Yep. Man, we had a teacher when I was in 6th grade. I'm not going to say her name, but she was, you know the teacher from Billy Madison, the kindergarten teacher who wipes the glue all over her eyes? She's kind of like that. A little quirky, but cute. She did our sex ed. And this was Catholic school, but it was a pretty intense sex ed. And oh my goodness, to say, to use the term growing pains, And one dude in class asked, I'll never forgive him for this. I've forgiven him for it. I'll never forget it, though. In 6th grade, he raised his hand, and he's like, oh, when you get a girl pregnant, do you just pee in her? Growing up sucks. Anyway, this gal, doesn't it suck? Remember all the questions we
brings
used to...
back memories.
Right? What was the worst question? What was the worst question you heard in sex ed class? We were like, hey, I actually don't know the answer to that. But of course, we made fun of him, viciously made fun of him. But I didn't have the answer.
We didn't know that he was wrong either.
No, a piss baby? I don't know how that shit works. All I know is I'm trying to not get ringworm. It's the only thing I know about
You were
sex.
just trying to survive, man.
Anyway, so find this gal. She is so cute.
Yes, she is. Or just come out. Forget finding her. Just come out.
Come out, and also, you know what my advice is? Do the OnlyFans. Don't deal with porn, dude. All these they're gonna make money. They're gonna take your money, you know. But I think direct to consumer. Wear the Oilers jersey, flash the boobs. People be like, she likes sports, and maybe eat nachos. Do guy stuff with boobs. That's a whole market.
Yeah.
That's a whole market.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. What else do we want to do before I get to this creepy story?
Oh, what else you got in mind?
Well, we got this, another New York City story. There was a 5-foot snake that slithered out of some dude's kitchen sink.
But now he's just taking the subway and checking out Times Square?
Yeah, so that was scary. So be careful there. It's a boa constrictor.
Oh, man. New York's going to come after us. Maybe we shouldn't take a trip to New York soon.
Yeah, maybe. No, I'm not going to. As soon as I moved out of New York, I was like, how is Manhattan there? It looks like it should sink. It's really close to that water. All right. Well, before we get to this creepy pasta, let's talk about a story that is truly a little scary. Tesla. Apparently, these Tesla cars can see ghosts. Have you heard about this?
We were barely, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay. So the Tesla car, it's supposed to be like, hey, don't go. There's a person over there, right? But this person was driving their car in a cemetery. And all around them, they saw shadowy figures in the Tesla little screen there, right? But then they would look out their window and no one's there. So did Elon Musk, which I do love that everyone bought Tesla, is like, I think he's just a great liberal man. And then he spoke and they're like, well, I took the T off of it. Apparently this guy, he goes by Edgar Osnoria. So with a name like that, you know he's going to see a ghost. He was looking at his dashboard display, and all of a sudden it showed what appeared to be a pedestrians walking in various directions. Now the person was holding a camera. He looked at the film on the screen, and then he put the camera into the graveyard. Nothing there, and again came back to the screen, covered with, I guess, are ghosts. With what I guess are ghosts. So it kind of makes sense. You're basically just driving a battery, right? People are complaining about getting headaches and nausea and stuff from driving Teslas, because, or the just 100% electric cars, because you're just in a battery. All that stuff coming together with that technology.
You're about to see
Did he
nice.
just create the greatest ghost busting machine of all time?
I think he might have.
Yeah.
I've yet to see a ghost. I'm
Do you
not
want
really
to?
looking forward to. I don't know if I am.
What would change about
This
you if you
would
saw
actually,
ghosts?
all right, this story would actually make sense. It would feel the safest to me. Get a Tesla, drive through a cemetery to see if ghosts really are real.
Right.
For me, because I haven't seen one yet.
We used to have a great cemetery in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, where I'm from, and we had a thing called the bleeding tree in the cemetery. In hindsight, I think it was just sap. But it was pretty freaking cool. We went there during Halloween, like a bunch. My buddy urinated on a gravestone, and I swear to God, he was haunted for a little while. We also used to play with the Ouija board. I had this demon spirit called Deb. And then we did a thing where we burnt the Ouija board, but then finally, years later, I found out you're not supposed to burn it. Apparently, you're supposed to, like, kiss it or drown it or something.
You were fearless.
Oh, yeah.
Is that tree still there? The
bleeding tree? Oh, yeah. I would imagine so. Yeah, it's full of blood. So the clips were shared in March, and this is what the caption said. All the spirits came out today. Would you be more or less religious if you saw ghosts?
That is a very good question. I don't know.
I guess my Tesla has the sixth sense. That's what he says. It got 23 million views. Still not as many views as that woman's boobs will get. Which is amazing. You're a ghost. And you're like, hey, everyone, the afterlife is real. I'm a ghost hanging on the cemetery. Oh, wow, we got 30 million views. Oh, yeah, this fat dude doing mukbang videos where he eats a bunch of ramen got 100 million. Well, I'm a ghost. I can't get more views than that.
Ghost with boobs?
Well, I think sadly they're lost.
They are.
I don't know.
What do you mean with the ghosts?
They're
look like?
genderless, aren't they? I mean,
I only know what I see in movies, what Hollywood perceives as ghosts. I've never seen one, so I don't know.
Hollywood's full of lies. I don't know. I want to say I felt spirits before. I feel like I felt a presence of someone who has passed. But yeah, I've never really seen full-on apparitions, which I do want to see, but maybe I want to see it too much. And then the ghost, like most difficult creatures to understand, is plain hard to get.
Yeah, there's certain things in life I just don't really want to know.
Yep. According to Turbo Toad, they say hopefully Teslas have a panic and escape mode. Don't panic. I wouldn't. That's the one thing. If I am a ghost, all of us will be a ghost, fingers crossed. I do think they've been disparaged a little bit too much. You know, you have Ghost Dad. It's a fine film, and I guess he's not bad in that movie, The Ghost. But for the most part, and of course, what is it called, Ghost? What's that one with Patrick Swayze, where he's rubbing on the gal while she does? She makes pottery.
Demi Moore. It is Ghost.
Is it just called Ghost?
I think so.
It's not a clever name.
Now I'm going to think about this.
They can be seen as good sometimes, but for the most part, they're seen as mean, evil spirits. But ghosts, I mean, they're nothing but chill. Another person said, Tesla Easter eggs, y'all.
Okay.
So apparently they're thinking about the holiday Easter and how that is an Easter egg for Teslas. I don't know. All I know is everyone I know that has a Tesla is pissed off because apparently in the charging stations, which there's not enough of, number one, I think what we have to have is a hybrid car. As always, we got to work together. They're also, all of the charging stations are getting cut and vandalized because they're full of copper.
Oh.
So people are just going through there, literally mining them for copper.
Yeah.
And then people with their Teslas have to wait like an hour just to start the process, which takes an hour. I don't know. The whole thing is a pain in the ass and apparently literally gives you a headache. And also, yeah, every time Elon Musk speaks, I'm just so happy that I don't have any product that he ever came up with because at some point, you're just going to be careful what you wish for. At some point, you're just going to
man's working hard back there somewhere doing something.
Well, he's going to Mars. And there you'll be able to see a woman with 3 boobs. We all know what happened in Total Recall.
Damn, 3 boobs.
All right, everyone. It's time for the creepypasta.
All right.
Now, the name of this is, does anyone remember the rhyme about the Patchwork Man and the Picture Game? Okay. I haven't read this yet, so it'll be horrible. Does anyone remember the rhyme about the Patchwork Man and the Picture Game? Written by Quincy Lee. I like the name Quincy Lee.
I do like it, yeah.
Yes, indeed. Estimated reading time 12 minutes, so it'll probably take about 30. All right.
All right, let's get ready for this.
Okay, you ready to get scared?
I think so.
Patchwork Man, play a game. Patchwork Man, in the frame. And the next line is something about stealing your skin. That's not good. That's why it's good to have some of those funguses on you. So when someone comes to steal your skin, be like, hey, don't, it's full of funguses. And then the person will be like, okay, keep your skin, you filthy bastard. Okay, and the next line is something about stealing your skin. But for the life of me, I cannot remember the end. I'm trying to find it for an old friend. I like the rhyme so far. This is very good. Very Eminem, who was a rapper. Houdini. This friend, for privacy's sake, let's call her Kayla, beautiful name, met me for coffee after texting me out of the blue, reminiscing about our childhood days and wondering if we could get together and catch up. Oh, perhaps love is in the air. I'm one of the few who stayed in our hometown and never moved. A townie, which everyone has a role in this life, and if your role is to be the townie, that's great. Because when you go as someone who goes back every now and again, very rarely to my hometown, when you see that friendly face, that's awesome.
It's welcoming.
It's welcoming. Now, also they can be very bitter.
Yeah.
Or they could be like the townie in my hometown. His name was Steve, and he had sex with cats and would throw them in the river.
Ooh.
He's a cat fucker.
Is that bitter or is that happiness?
It sounds to me like the cats are upset. Yeah, the cats are definitely upset. But everyone knew it. Everyone was like, that's Steve, the cat fucker. The whole town knows it.
Where's Steve now?
He's in my hometown.
I gotta go visit your hometown.
No, you don't. No, that's the story that wants to bring you in the middle of Wisconsin and cat fucker. I mean, that's just every small town. That's why it's like everyone's like, oh, the big city, be careful. No, every small town. And it's just so normalized. Everything is just so like, oh yeah, it's Pamela. You know, she lets her dog do things with her. It's every small town. And everyone's just like, yeah, I guess so. Anyway, this friend, for privacy's sake, let's call her Kayla. They met at a coffee shop and because she wanted to catch up, right? I'm one of the few who stayed in our hometown and never moved, even though there's really nothing here except lots of conifers, which I guess are trees, reaching towards the clouds like brushes. Great alliteration. Painting the skies is a permanent gray. So it's gray, it's gloomy, it's a small town. The trees and slopes mean our roads are winding, our homes shaded, and the sky blotted out by branches, unless you're willing to drive far enough away to where the land levels into pasture.
That sounds beautiful.
It does sound kind of beautiful. Yeah. It seems sort of like maybe a northeast kind of vibe, like a Massachusetts, some old-timey carpentry and homes.
Springtime, maybe the foliage is coming in. So far, I feel very comfortable leading into this story. So.
Yes. Well, someone's gonna die, I think. All of which is to say, our sleepy town has its share of quirks. It's very possible the game never caught on in other places. Okay, this is the game again, the Patchwork game. Patchwork Man. When Kayla mentioned it in her text to me, memories flooded back. I hadn't thought about elementary school in years. Ugh, thank God. Elementary school. Horrible memories. Suddenly, I was back in the playground, running across the sand, screaming because Kayla wouldn't stop trying to kiss me. Oh, I had that problem growing up. From the ice cream man, pretending to be Pepe Le Pew, well, I pretended to be the cat. So they're switching roles. She's Pepe Le Pew, who really, he's had a couple of years here where people have been mad at him. To be honest, I barely remembered Kayla aside from that memory because she was hunting him down and trying to kiss him, probably trying to give him that ringworm. Even though we attended the same school all the way through senior year, she became one of the more popular girls. And since I turned out to be the token gay, oh, we're learning a lot here.
Hold on, the token gay.
He's the token gay.
Okay.
Not like he's smoking weed, he's like the token gay. And then he does clarify, I'm actually bi, but whatever. Okay. So he did bring that up himself, though, and then did correct himself by saying he's actually bi. So that's good for him. So now he's the token bi. I spent most of high school just trying to keep my head down and get through, which is honestly a great approach. A great approach. There is no right way to get through high school. Just let the...
Those years are rough.
They are horrible.
Yeah.
And it's, what do they say about prison? You don't let the time do you, you do the time, something like that. You just have to, if keeping your head down and just staring at your shoes is the way you get through, just it eventually ends. Oh, it was miserable. I mean, I have a lot of great memories, but also just, I don't want to do it again.
It wasn't so bad for me, but I wouldn't necessarily want to do it again.
Well, you're an attractive guy. You also, people don't know, Shake got to the country at, what, 14, and you spoke fluent?
12, yeah.
At 12?
Yeah.
And you speak fluent French?
Yeah.
And you didn't speak English?
I didn't speak English, and I had a very heavy accent. And then I moved to Massachusetts, so, I mean, you can only imagine the fun that I got made of.
Well, sure, they're going to make fun of you also, but
yeah.
you know, I'm sure the ladies were like, who's this new kid? And he speaks
Here
French.
and there, but for the most part, I wasn't necessarily the most popular kid by any means.
But French is a beautiful language.
Yeah.
Say something in French. Say something disgusting in French, but it sounds good. Like
Disgusting in
say
French.
like, oh my butthole. Hold on a second. I'm getting a phone call from Hollywood. Oh, the phone's in my butthole.
Oh, I got to think about this one.
right.
It translates differently.
Okay.
It's the whole part of actually saying something disgusting that sounds pretty good in French, and then yeah, we'll get that.
Getting a phone call from Hollywood. Oh, the phone's in my butthole. That doesn't work. That doesn't translate in French.
I've never thought about this.
Shit, come on. So we met at a small cafe, one of only 2 breakfast spots in town, and the only one with coffee I consider decent. Okay, snob. All right, the only one in town I consider decent. There's 2. God. Seated by the large windows, I wonder if I'd even recognize her. I texted that I was wearing a gray flannel. This is Massachusetts. This is Rhode Island, some shit like that. When she came in, she looked around for a moment in confusion, spotted my shirt and beamed, "Pat!" Almost didn't know it was you until she saw the gray flannel, apparently, which was the dead giveaway that it's Pat. Which doesn't sound very gay to me.
Gray flannel.
No. I guess that's why he's bi now. He switched up the clothes a little bit. So Kayla, that's what he said. He said, "Kayla!" I smiled and stood up. "I definitely didn't recognize you. Wow. You look like a real city gal." I hate this guy. "That's a beautiful coat." So they really are into each other's outer layers. And then she says, "Oh, it's Burberry." So it's a Burberry coat. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And she blushed because, wow, what a compliment. Embarrassed maybe to be a rich woman in such a homey space. Says, "I like your tattoo. Is that a wolf?" Oh, these are some cool people. And then they say, "It's actually my husky Snowy." So and he named him when I was 8. I never wanted to forget him. So and then she says, "Oh my, this is the story I'm reading it, by the way. Oh my God, that is so sweet that he's got this dumbass dog tattoo named Snowy." She laid a hand to her heart, looking genuinely touched as she slid into her seat. "I never knew you had a dog." This is such a fun conversation. "I never knew you had a dog. How did I not know that? You know my son recently got a dog."
They're full-grown adults now.
They're full-grown adults. She's got a kid.
Okay.
This is just unraveling. And then the guy says, "You've got kids now." And then she says, "I've got kids now." This is the dumbest story. The first half hour of catching up, Kayla was smiling, energetic, seemingly delighted to share about her life and ask about mine. And yet, I noticed the occasional drift of her eyes as I was telling her about my dad's health. Maybe she's bored fucking shitless. Like she was distracted. She was getting distracted because he's like, my dad, he's got a bad case of testicular cancer. Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm a little bored."
That's not what she came to listen to.
I heard this coffee's pretty decent, best in town.
Yeah.
So, my dad's health, like she was distracted. Like all this sunny conversation was just light on the water surface, while deeper down, a darker undercurrent tugged her thoughts elsewhere. She's been tugged by thoughts.
An undercurrent.
Like she was itching to ask me something, but then the smile returned, as carefully applied as her makeup. I suppose life as a businesswoman taught her to wear that amiable disposition, just like that expensive coat. This guy is stuck on this Burberry coat. But I'm patient. I kept up the discussion and waited for her to get comfortable enough to shed both the fancy coat and the fancy smile, and explain to me why her hands were trembling. So she's sitting there like, ah, and this guy is just like, my dad's dying.
Yeah.
Let's change the
He's
topic.
looking for some intimate connection right now, and
She's got a kid. She's a businesswoman from she's a fancy business gal now. She's not trying to have, this isn't a Reese Witherspoon film. She's fancy now.
Their shell she's covered.
She's in a Burberry. Yeah. Come on.
Oh man, I'm rooting for this guy.
I am not. Finally, she sipped her coffee and asked, "Do you remember Jimmy Smythe?"
Okay. That's an
It could be Smith. It's Smythe. So it's Smythe or Smith.
Could be either. Let's go with Smythe.
We'll
Smythe
go.
sounds pretty good.
I like it. Of course, I remember Jimmy Smythe. That's how we always referred to him. Not as Jimmy, like back when he was alive. Jimmy Smythe's first name, last name, Jimmy Smythe, the boy who went missing. So he's dead. Okay, so Jimmy, that's all you need to know from that weird-ass little sentence there. You remember what he looked like, she asked. That took me aback. Okay. I tried to think that far back into the past, shook my head. Also, what other memories is this guy replacing the past with? He just lived in the same town.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I don't want to brag, but I've been everywhere. Mm-hmm. And it's like I have so many experiences that it's tough. Sometimes you can forget a memory.
Yeah.
In this guy's case, he's just stayed there forever. He should remember this like it was yesterday.
You should be reliving them every day.
Because he is, right? So that took me aback. I tried to think far into the past, shook my head. She reached into her bag and pulled out a photograph, an actual printed photograph. This was a lot of effort. I mean, not that much. It's on your computer, you hit print. But anyway, he thought it was a lot of effort. I looked at the photo and tried to remember him. Blue eyes, blonde hair, chubby red cheeks, and that mole on his nose. Jimmy Smythe was in our 4th grade class when he went missing. People searched for weeks, but there was no trace of him. You remember, she asked? You remember, she asked, how mad the sheriff got about the patchwork man? Oh, the sheriff was upset. I remember, I nodded. They thought he was someone they could find. The patchwork man was like our small town's version of the boogeyman or Bloody Mary.
Okay.
A scary tale we used to spook one another. He wasn't real, but Jimmy talked about him so much in the days before he disappeared that authorities actually assumed this was a person that was stalking us all. It's possible the other kids said stuff that led them to think that too. And Jimmy and the others drew pictures of him. So many pictures, a disfigured man in a patchwork calico coat began to appear. So this is, we got Burberry,
okay,
and now we got a calico coat, which I have no idea what that is. But I was never really all that into the fad or the game that the other children were playing. I didn't learn about the patchwork man until our school field trip to an art museum. Oh, that's so fun. Remember when you're a kid and you got to go to an art museum and then you look at everything and you're like, oh, look at that, with no context and no respect for it at all. And then, well, now I like to go to museums. I have an understanding a little bit more of like, oh, look at that bog person. That's kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. But when you're a kid, nothing
you're
is,
not thinking of that like
who
that.
cares?
No, yeah. You're trying to get through it.
Just get through it again. Just put your head down and get through it.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some kind of snack area you can go hang out with and snort sugar or whatever makes your friends laugh. Our school was so small, it was just us little kids plus all the older kids. Okay, that's called a school. That would be
with different grades.
That would be, yeah. There's little kids and then older kids. That's what school is. So when we finally got to the museum, all of us younger kids went spilling into rooms and wandering among the paintings, pointing and saying things like, "Oh my God, it's the Patchwork Man." These kids are annoying. Sometimes we pointed to creepy figures or characters in mottled clothes, like jesters, but mostly we pointed to paintings, where there wasn't any figure at all. The older kids didn't get it and kept asking, "What's the Patchwork Man?" These older kids aren't asking that.
I doubt it.
They don't give a shit.
Nah, they passed that.
Definitely not.
They're looking at boobs.
Exactly. Trying to go back to see if that. I wonder if the Edmonton Oilers chick, did they show the boobs on TV initially? Because, I mean, obviously everyone saw them, so it must have just been live.
I don't know how Canada does this whole blurring. There is a delay, so it's not.
Is there a delay?
There is a delay. After that Justin Timberlake, Michael,
the
Janet
nipple
Jackson
slip.
thing, yeah. It's not. They
By
don't
the
do
way,
things
please
live
God,
anymore.
free Janet Jackson and her nipple. Remember when America was like, I don't think my children are ever going to be able to recover from this.
We've been shackled ever since.
God, this country is
Like
so stupid.
5 to 10 second delays, whatever it is.
Ugh. Janet Jackson showed her nipple. And it wasn't even her nip. It wasn't even a full nip. And then JT gets to perform at halftime, but Janet Jackson is still like banned. Whatever. This country is awful. But check out my Patreon. We talk about politics. It's very, very fun. Don't forget. All right. So the picture. Okay. So anyway, I didn't really get it either, even though I kept doing it. But then Jimmy explained it to me. The picture game was kind of like a cross between Where's Waldo and those magic eye things, which are almost impossible. And I think they've caused the majority of autism in the country. Remember the magic eye? Mm-hmm. There's a stare at it, and you see like a pencil. The idea was that you had to try to find the Patchwork Man. Most of the kids were pretending just like I was. He's right behind you, we'd say. He's going to snatch you away. Stuff like that. The teachers finally told us to quit it. But 4 weeks after, every so often, someone would remember and start it up again, shrieking that they saw the Patchwork Man. They'd yell and point to the picture and swear they saw it for real, and that he was in the picture, guys. I swear he was there. The week before Jimmy Smythe went missing, he said it a lot. There was a rhyme, too, Kayla insisted. So she was like, there was a rhyme, too. I insist upon that. Do you remember we chanted it to scare him off? She began the chant, which, why the fuck would you begin the chant? If you know this is going to summon the Patchwork Man that killed Jimmy Smythe, shut up. She goes on. Patchwork Man, play the game. And then I joined in, words tumbling from some dusty shelf of memory. Patchwork Man, in the frame. Patchwork Man, I can't remember the rest. Yes, that's where I get stuck too, she said. They have early onset dementia. She struck the table with the flat of her hand, tried to lift her cup, but her fingers were shaking too bad. Is anyone get a cronut? Are they eating anything? You're at a coffee shop. Have a donut, relax. And then something about stealing skins, and that's the last line. And the last line was how to get rid of him. Stealing skins. I'd forgotten about that until she mentioned it. Eureka. How the Patchwork Man stole the skins of his victims, and his own body was sewn together from their pieces so that he had the eyes of one, the nose of another, so on and so forth. Obviously, that's why he's the Patchwork Man. Reminds me of a great horror movie that's now probably 25 years old, but May. Did you ever see May?
I haven't seen May.
You're not a big horror guy, are you?
I'm not a big horror guy.
May
I try to avoid it because it gets to me.
You get scared. I know. You're very sensitive.
Yeah.
That's why we watch our sports together. That's why Shake and I are sports friends.
Light.
We're sports friends. But May is fantastic. It's a great horror movie. Really cool. So Patchwork Man, I tap my finger to my head trying to recall the rest of it. So he's in there, they're in a coffee shop, and this guy's just like, Patchwork Man! They need to be kicked out.
Are they the only one there?
I don't know what's going on. Damn, that's going to bother me. You didn't have it written down, did you? Maybe I do in an old book or something. Maybe it's one of your password books. Doubt it, she shook her head. We destroyed all the pictures and books too. Everything that night. You remember that night after Jimmy disappeared? We all met at Roger's house for the bonfire. Oh yeah, you're right. Shit, I forgot.
That was for a vigil, or were they just partying?
I think they just wanted to go to Roger's house. Maybe he had the cool mom that let them drink in the basement.
Yeah.
Maybe he was like the rich kid you didn't really like, but he had a nice house. You know?
Yeah.
Oh shit, you're right. I forgot. You're right. We threw in our notebooks. Book burning.
Yeah.
Bunch of Nazis. Not just our notebooks, everything. Pictures we drew, pictures we stole from our parents' houses. Why? Even a painting. And the book, you remember, Jimmy's book. So he was a writer. Jimmy's book. Now as she said it, I could almost picture all of us scattered around the library. Kayla and the girly girls doing what girly girls do. Table with Nancy Drew books. Me lounging on the beanbag chair with Snoopy comics. There's nothing gay about that. I was thinking it was the token gay. He's reading Snoopy? This is different. Nowadays, I mean, come on. Read something fun. I was never a big Snoopy guy. I was a Winnie the Pooh guy.
Oh, Snoopy. I didn't have either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's reading Snoopy comics, and Jimmy suddenly exclaiming from a corner table, he had one of those magic eye books with the patterns where you have to cross your eyes a little to see the hidden picture, and he shouted, it's him, I found the Patchwork Man. Everyone crowded around his table to look at the magic eye book. There was a chorus of, I don't see anythings. And where? A girl named Sandy declared she could see him, but she was clearly lying because she couldn't even point to where he was in the fucking picture. Kayla, back then with her freckled face and unkept hair and perpetually skinned knees from roller skating. Why the shade? Is she in fourth grade? Unkept hair? The fuck, who are you? You're reading the Snoopy book on a
judgy.
Yeah.
Very judgy.
She's in fourth grade. What is she, 11? She squinted hard to the page and said, I see him. I see him too. A man standing in the corner. Now in the diner, Kayla reached into her bag and pulled out a book. So apparently they're now in a diner. Didn't they say they were in a coffee shop before?
I kept thinking Starbucks or Coffee Bean sort of thing, but now it's a diner.
Now it's a diner, so they've changed locations.
They're eating. A meal. There is a love story in there, which I'm hoping for, actually.
No.
There is no love.
I don't think so. She's got a kid and he doesn't... Well, I guess he's bi now, so... Stranger Things? I don't know.
Maybe this is me trying to cover the fact that I'm a little bit terrified right now.
I know, you're very scared.
A little,
I know, it's very scary.
All right, go ahead.
It's very scary. He's in here, she said, pushing it toward me. Ice trickled down my spine. It was a magic eye book. The same book, different copy, but identical cover and pages. And I said, why would you? Tell me I'm not crazy. Tell me he's not there. I sighed, but I opened the book. So he's like, oh, open the book. You know I've never been good at these things. I don't think I'll be able to see anything in any of them. You can, I'll show you, said Kayla, and patiently but insistently taught me how to look. How to see the ball in the picture on the first page, the airplane on the second. That's the thing. The magic on the first page, you see a ball. You have to work your ass off, cross your eyes to see a ball. Or an airplane, that was the second one. It was difficult. I could only make out the shapes with intense concentration. But after I saw a star without her giving me hints, she nodded encouragement and turned the page. He's getting better. The next page was challenging. I mean, in what context, right? It's not the SATs. So the next page was challenging. In fact, the longer I stared, the more convinced I became there was nothing in the picture at all. This one was a dud. That's what he said. This one was a dud. Sweat formed on my brow. This guy's taking it very seriously. Sweat formed on my brow. I could feel the moisture pooling under my armpits. Even as my skin went cold. Wait, maybe there was something. I think I see a figure, I said finally. Sort of. Oh my God, it's that girl's boobs. It's crystal clear to me when I look. She closed the book without looking at the page. That one's the Patchwork Man. That's scary. Oh, I said. I felt a tingle of unease, but then I thought about it for a moment. Could be any man-shaped figure, though, couldn't it? That's what he said. Could be any man-shaped figure. This guy sucks. We made up all that stuff about the Patchwork Man. It was just a game. But she was pulling more things out of her bag now. She is just like Mary Poppins. Spilling the bag open to reveal photos, articles, artwork. She shoved a handful of newspaper clippings towards me. Here in this town, she said, voice low and tremulous. The disappearance started long before Jimmy. And after him, there was a boy the next year in second grade. And later, a little immigrant girl. Mm-hmm. So the Patchwork Man took an immigrant girl.
I could relate.
Yeah, this could have gotten you.
Shit.
Yep. The disappearance happened every decade or so. This is literally, by the way, just copying Pennywise the Clown from It, but that's okay. The story's a little hack. So anyway, and now, her composure completely cracked. She took her napkin and held it to her face, her mouth trembling beneath welling tears, as if she were biting back a scream. Finally, she burst. I didn't mean to look. I was going through my old notebooks, childhood stuff I'd packed away, and I found some diary entries I wrote about the Patchwork Man. She started to sob. Anyone who is in this coffee shop, which is now a diner, is like, what is going on with that couple?
So many questions.
So many questions. So now you just got to get a Cobb salad. I was going cronut because I thought they were at a coffee shop, but now that I know they're at a diner, get a Cobb salad. Stop crying. This is embarrassing. And it's a small town, so everyone's going to know. She says, after she was sobbing, I should have burned it. I must have forgot. I thought I did burn it. Once I saw my old drawings of him. I see him everywhere now, and he won't go away. He's real, and he has Jimmy's blue eyes, Jimmy's rosy cheek. Look, you can see. I don't want to, I said. But then she shoved Jimmy's photo over along with a folder of artwork, and in spite of myself, I looked. The folder contained printouts of paintings, the kind you might see in people's houses or in a museum. So paintings. Initially, they were all perfectly ordinary pictures. I shook my head. It says I shook my head. I'm assuming it means shook. I shook my head and told her there was nothing in them. But then I almost missed him, like my eyes wanted to skip over him, but the feel of goosebumps on my arms made him look again. And there in a watercolor of crowded street, amongst all the shapes bleeding together like wet ink after a rain, was a man wearing a patchwork coat made of some sort of supple, delicate leather. Ooh. He really likes coats. He was gone in the next few paintings, but reappeared in another impressionistic crowd saying, the more images I saw, the easier he was to spot, hiding among the artwork like Waldo in a crowd, again with the Waldo thing. And I swallowed. Trying to quell brings him back to high school. And I swallowed, trying to quell my fear that brought my heartbeat pounding in my ears, because I could see him clearly enough now to identify the one bright blue eye and ruddy cheek. This guy is throwing shade on dead Jimmy Smythe. A ruddy cheek? What's a ruddy cheek? What's ruddy? Ruddy?
I don't know. Yeah. Even at such a young age.
Is there zits on it, or did he carve a cross into it? What? Okay, so he got his ruddy-ass cheek. It was really Jimmy's eye, and up close, the piece of Jimmy and the others in the Patchwork Man were all the wrong size, mismatched, like some sort of Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein's monster. Mm-hmm. It's not mismatched like some kind of scientist. God. I do hate that I'm such a horror nerd, by the way. That's like one of the only nerd things that I'll do. He's Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein's the scientist. You all know that. But even more horrifying to look at, in fact, the longer I looked, the more nauseating the details. Like how the Patchwork Man had too many fingers on his hands, and one of his ears was upside down. An upside down ear. So he put it on wrong. How the fuck did he mess that up?
Got glued the wrong way?
I guess so. Talk to my good ear. This one's upside down.
We're not all perfect.
I know, I'm just saying. He's the one who put himself together. Man, I really messed that up. No more putting myself together drunk. And his other eye had two different pupils. And the buttons of his coat were teeth. I was getting sick to my stomach. Dizzy, like I was feeling a sense of vertigo. Like when you look at one of those spinning spirals, and when you stop everything, keeps spinning. Like I was staring at a magic eye and the patterns were shifting. His skin was almost like it was in a mesmerizing patterns. Wham! I jumped. Kayla had slammed the folder closed and was shouting at me, hollering at the top of her lungs, shaking me. Stop looking! Stop looking! Bitch, you brought this here.
Now this is happening in the diner.
In the diner. Stop looking! Stop looking!
Ooh, okay.
Like probably a girlfriend at the Oilers game when that chick flashed her tits. When she looks at her boyfriend and he's like, whoa, stop looking! I didn't do it. I didn't ask her to do it. Everyone in the cafe was staring. Now they're back in a cafe. So there's a little writing errors.
That freaking me out. And I don't know how.
I don't know either. I stammered an apology and we paid and quickly left. Are you okay? She asked. Yeah. No, actually, I turned to her and he says, why the fuck would you come all the way here and drag me into... Because I want to be next. That's what she says.
She wants to be next to this.
She wants to be next. She wants to be eaten or killed by the Patchwork Man and give him a nice vagina. She cried in anguish. Rory, that's the name of her kid. Rory is starting elementary school. I just need to know the rhyme, Pat. I need to know how it ends. You're the only person I know who might have remembered. Please, please. What did we chase him away? What did we say to chase him away at the bonfire? Okay, I growled. He growled, okay. Trying to suppress the bubbling fear that no, I would not succumb to this. This is delusion. She doctored those pictures, so now he doesn't trust that the pictures are real at all. She had to. Or she'd drawn me into her crazy fears through sheer conviction. Powerful woman. But I couldn't leave her in this state, so I said, okay, maybe I have an idea. We parted ways and agreed to meet at my house later that evening. Ooh, second location. In the meantime, I looked at the artwork that hung on the walls of my house. Artwork that's been there since my grandparents' generation, showing landscapes and people, all normal. I typed this post thinking if we didn't solve her problem, maybe someone else could help. I was still typing when the doorbell rang. Evening had come sooner than I expected. When did you expect it? That's the one thing about days. Pretty consistent. It's the day and it's the evening. If you know if the evening sneaks up on you, you got to focus. I met Kayla outside by the fire pit. She had brought her folders with pictures. I also brought a painting out from inside. It was my favorite, a landscape of the beautiful woods and slate gray sky. What a beautiful painting. Who doesn't love to look at a gray sky painting?
Now they're in the house.
They're at the pit fire near his house, at his house.
Okay, a little bit more intimate. Not
Yeah.
too many people around the town. Okay, go ahead.
It doesn't seem sexual. It seemed to embody the essence of this place, the lonely isolation and desolate beauty. But while typing, I reluctantly had to admit, I'd started catching odd glimpses in the corner of my eye, as if someone were peeking out from behind a trunk. So he had a trunk. I don't know what's full of coats. Someone was peeking out behind a trunk, or maybe of a tree, I don't know. I didn't want that idea to take root any deeper than it already had. The painting had to go. The plan was simple. We'd burn the paint, we'd burn the pictures, recite the rhyme, and hope that reenacting what we'd done as children would jog our memories. I got the fire going while Kayla stood there tight-lipped and pale. She'd removed her makeup now, and her skin was sallow and her freckled cheeks sunken with fear. Why she removed her makeup, we don't know. She kept whispering, Patchwork Man, trying to remember the rhyme I knew. But without her knowing the rest, it sounded almost like she was calling him. Hey! I nudged her and began by tossing some of the pictures from her folder into the roaring fires. She nodded and followed suit, throwing her old diary on, and then the magic eye book that was left of her folder, and lastly I ripped my painting out of its frame and broke it in two, and then threw the canvases on. All of that was catching, nearly smothering the fire. We faced each other and held hands.
Oh, okay.
They're holding hands now, baby.
I knew it was going somewhere like this.
I hope so. And if they're going by middle school logic, that's third base. Although not anymore. God knows what the kids are doing now.
The kids are way more advanced than that. They don't even have bases anymore. They've covered it all.
Yep.
It's a different sport, it might be, I think. I don't know what the sport is.
It was so difficult to see porn back in the day.
Yes.
It's almost too easy for him now. I almost feel bad. But it felt awkward and ridiculous. Two adults chanting like children, but we did it anyway. Patchwork Man, play again. Patchwork Man, in the frame. Patchwork Man, I see you looking for some skins to steal, Kayla shouted, triumphant, remembering the third line, just one more. Patchwork Man, can't take mine. But even as the last line came to me, she stopped, turning her head. She was staring at something. You're not supposed to look away from one another during the chant. Okay, you're supposed to stare at each other, apparently, when you're chanting this. You're not supposed to look away from and you're not supposed to look at the fire either. You got to look at each other right in the eyes and sing this thing here, this strange form of coitus. But her head was turned, mouth hanging open, eyes wide in terror. I followed her gaze. It was impossible, but I swear to you, there on the top of the heap was my painting. of the conifers, the edges just starting to catch, and the Patchwork Man was stepping out from the trees, and he was climbing out of the painting. That piercing blue eye that used to be Jimmy's fixed on Kayla. The world seemed to swirl and ripple. Everything flattening out, Kayla flattening out too. She had her hands at her face like that character in the painting in The Scream. She's like, ah!
What's flatten out?
Just to flatten that out like a pizza dough. In The Scream, it's like what Macaulay Culkin did in Home Alone. He was like, my parents aren't here. But in this case, I think they're turning into a painting. The Patchwork Man's misshapen hands, one large and one small. It's like that character from Scary Movie. It's David Cross's character. Very funny. One large and one small. The fingers all different lengths and wrong. I know. Like how his left hand had two thumbs, grabbed her and drew her in, and they both seemed to blend with brush strokes and ash and flames. And then the canvas was burning, the painting was gone, and there was no one standing where Kayla had been. Just the prints of her shoes in the dirt. I gaped.
Shit.
Bringing them back to high school again. I gaped, disbelieving, stood there in a daze while the fire slowly died, not accepting any of what I've seen. How could I? It had to be some kind of nightmare. That was the only thing that made sense. I was in a waking nightmare. Maybe someone spiked my drink. Hey, this coffee shop is now being accused of really felonious activity.
Somebody's getting sued.
I don't know. But when I got inside, I looked up at the wall in the living room and groaned because there's a small family portrait, a painting by my grandmother of my grandfather. Only now, instead of my grandfather, it showed the Patchwork Man with a new patch of freckled skin on his cheek. And I whispered to myself in the rhyme, the one Kayla didn't finish. Patchwork Man, play a game. Patchwork Man, in the frame. Patchwork Man, I see you looking for some skins to steal. Patchwork Man, can't take mine. You know why? 'Cause you're not real. Goes on. But now I know the rhyme won't help me. The rhyme just tells you the rule that it's not real. He can't hurt you, it's not real. But then it's too late, all right? And then I hope everyone reading this, you don't make the mistake I did. If you have kids, if your kids talk about him, please convince them that he's not real. It's not too late for them as long as you can convince them that he's not real. And then this is the last little paragraph here. He says, my only hope now is to drink myself into oblivion. Sleep it off. Try to convince myself that when I wake up, it was all a fever dream, that Kayla never contacted me. I had already deleted all of her messages, and that none of this happened. I just have to make myself believe it didn't happen. He's just going to look at Blotto. Patchwork Man, play a game. Patchwork Man, in the frame. Patchwork Man, I see you looking for some skins to steal. Patchwork Man, can't take mine. You know why? 'Cause you're not real. And that, my friend, is the very long-winded version of Patchwork Man.
What?
You scared, buddy?
What the fuck just happened?
No idea. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Ben Kissel channel. Make sure to check out my Patreon. Go to Patreon, check out Ben Kissel channel there, and also Shopify. I'm getting some cool-ass merch, so you guys can look better than ever. All right, thank you so much for listening to this episode. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Ben Kissel.